What do you get when you start with an MIT graduate with a master's degree in naval architecture who earned his stripes at none other than McDonnell Douglas and learned to design sailboats at Irwin Yachts? You get the meanest, most spacious, world-traveling, full-keeled monster that is the Island Packet. This week's episode of Everything You Need to Know is brought to you by patrons. These are people who give a couple of dollars for every episode. That helps to keep the channel going and growing. If you're interested in becoming a patron and supporting the channel, head on over to patreon.com/LadyKSailing. Before we get started, you guys that may not be interested in Island Packet but are boat shopping may want to watch this episode anyway. We're going to be talking about one of the sort of time-honored arguments on which keel to buy and why, because that has a lot to do with Island Packet. And I'm sort of a firm believer that you need to decide before which boat you're going to buy, you need to decide which sort of keel suits you best. Are you going to be in shallow water? Are you going to be crossing oceans? Are you going to be racing? It all matters, and once you figure out the keel you want, then you can start looking at the boats that are made with that keel. So it's kind of important that you understand that ahead of time before you go out and just say, I want this brand or that brand. You have to know what you want in a keel, and that's sort of number one. Also, you guys know that I don't pick sides. I'm not very political one way or another when it comes to age-old arguments like which keel or which oil do I use or anything like that. And to prove that, I sail on a modified fin, which is sort of halfway between a full keel and a fin keel. So I don't have a horse in this race at all. And hopefully we can all just respect that every keel sort of has its purpose. So let's not turn it into an argument. And let's get on to Island Packet. And we're going to talk about Bob Johnson. Bob Johnson was a plant supervisor when he was with Irwin, and he was helping at the time to design some of the racers and cruisers that Irwin was building. So it's sort of where he got his start, like drawing sailboats and designing them and sort of figuring it out. He left Irwin and went over to another company called Endeavor. And Endeavor's a really cool step into his life because, and I know this because there's two Endeavors where I keep my boat. Endeavor is another full keel, big, heavy monster sort of a sailboat. And that's important because that plays a big role in the company that Bob would go to found. So he did leave Endeavor in 1978. He did go found his own company, and that company he called Traditional Watercraft. And they started out building a 21-foot boat called the Lightfoot, which I don't think anybody's ever heard of it. It's not important. And he was doing this out of Florida. So at the time, there was another Florida company that was building boats, and they were going out of business. They were called the Bombay Trading Company, which sounds like something from maybe a pirate movie or something with Johnny Depp in it, but I don't know. The Bombay Trading Company was going under, and Bob bought one of their designs, a 26-foot sailboat design, bought the molds and all that kind of stuff, and it became his. He then took his wisdom from Irwin and Endeavor, and he modified that design quite extensively. And he released it under his own brand, Traditional Watercraft, and he called that 26-footer none other than the Island Packet. So it's 1980, and the Island Packet is released, this 26-footer, and it is sturdy. It is wide. The interior is huge. The entire boat is overbuilt to the nth degree. It is strong and just massive amount of space inside for a 26-footer. It's also full keeled, which is an interesting choice, and that's probably something to do with his time at Endeavor. And Bob was a firm believer in building full keel boats at a time when everything seemed to be a fin keel, and that's sort of the way the world was going. So because it was full keel, it appealed to a lot of the people in Florida where he was building it, and a lot of people in Florida bought it because there's a lot of little like gunk holes and different things in Florida where you need a shallow draft to get in and out. And these full keel boats allow for a shallow draft. The keel's much longer, so there's a lot of room for weight without having to go very deep. So with the board up, the 26 only drew 2'8", which is just insane for a 26-foot boat. 2'8", you can get in anywhere with that. And you can beach it. You can, if you have to, and you're in the Bahamas somewhere, you can actually careen it and lay it down on the beach to deal with bottom work. Full keel boats are pretty cool in that aspect. One of the other cool features that Bob introduced to this full keel monster of a 26-footer was a drop keel, like a swing keel, inside the full keel. So underneath the full keel, there was a swing keel that would come out, and that would help the boat point upwind quite a bit better, having that that extra depth in the keel. In 1982, that 26-footer got sort of a little bit of tweaking here and there. The interior design changed, a little bit of ballast was changed to make it more comfortable and more seaworthy. And the result of that was the 26-footer Mark II. And then in 1984, Bob took it even a step further, and he released the 27 Island Packet. This boat was released into that world of like fin keel boats, and anything else in that area would have been a fin keel. And Bob didn't build the 27 to a price point, sort of like everything else was. Everybody else was trying to fit a market. Bob built a boat, price be damned, we'll figure it out later. He built it to a point of quality and a point of craftsmanship. So yes, the Island Packet is probably going to be more expensive than the other boats in its sort of a range. But the quality and craftsmanship is what some people are genuinely looking for. I've done a lot of reading since I've never owned an Island Packet, and the 26s and 27s of the 80s, all of the owners on the internet and all of the owners groups and the forums and everything, I haven't seen anything negative about the 26 or the 27 at all. All of the owners are super happy with these boats because they're comfortable. They're extremely livable. For a 26, 27-foot boat, you think of living on it and you're like, whoa, that's not a lot of boat. But the interiors are just so well thought out, and they're so wide and big, and the owners just absolutely rave about these things. I don't really have anything negative to say about them at all. Now, the inverse to this, the problem with Island Packet, and yeah, we have to cover both sides of the argument, right? The problem is they just aren't fast. And this really comes down to the argument I was talking about earlier, the full keel versus the fin keel. And there's a lot of other keel types, but we're just going to talk about those two because those were predominant at the time. And this argument can take hours, so I'm going to make it really simple. I'm going to oversimplify it. A keel is meant to do a couple of jobs. One of them is righting the boat against the pressure on the mast. So you picture a sailboat, the wind hits the sails and the boat tries to fall over. And if it didn't have a keel, it would fall over. So you need a ton of weight under that boat to stop it from essentially falling over. It's the righting of the pressure against the sail. So you need something heavy on the bottom. That's the keel's number one job. Its next job is a hydrodynamic lift. So as the keel moves through the water, it has to keep the boat moving forward. So there's a lift aspect to it. And a keel has to accomplish both of these things with as little drag as possible. And this is where the problem with the full keel sort of starts. A full keel, because it's so big, has so much wetted surface, it has so much drag, they're just not as fast as they potentially could be. Now, the argument has been recently made that with new designs and computer-aided everything and all that kind of stuff, that the full keel is obsolete now. The fin keel can do all the jobs the full keel can without the wetted surface and the drag. So it's sort of obsolete to build a full keel boat because the fins are just better. That's an argument. It's not my opinion. It's just something that people say. Full keels are also notoriously hard to maneuver at slow speed in tight spaces because they're really long. They want to track straight. That's what they're for. Having said that, they do have their perks. They offer a lot of room, as I mentioned, for weight, making the boat more comfortable, typically under passage or in heavy weather. They can be a lot shallower, like we said in Florida, or the Bahamas. If you're going there, shallow is going to be important to you. So they generally are a lot shallower. They also end up having a fairly large bilge. These bolt-on fin keel boats typically don't have very much of a bilge, but a full keel boat is going to have lots of bilge. The full keel is also going to track straighter. So when you're making a passage or something like that, it's going to be a lot easier on the helmsperson or on your autopilot because the boat genuinely just wants to go straight all the time, and that's important. So basically your full keel boat is going to be a bit slower. It's going to be harder to maneuver in the marina, but it is more comfortable and probably safer. Fin keels, on the other hand, and I like these because I'm a racer and, I like to go fast. I don't own one because I'm also a cruiser, but fin keels, they're deeper, so you need to limit where you go. Anything over 6 feet, you're probably not going to the Bahamas. You also have to limit where you can anchor, which is sort of a problem as you jump through the Caribbean and things like that. Some of the anchorages are going to be off limits to you if you have a fin keel, and that kind of sucks. Fin keels don't track as well. They don't have that long wetted surface to keep the boat going straight. There's less room for weight. They're also often bolted on, which is sort of a contentious thing on the internet. There have been stories of full keels falling off, and it does happen. Also, having a bolted on keel as the owner of the boat, it's one more point of maintenance that you need to concern yourself with. The keel bolts, are they torqued to factory spec? Is there any rust on them, are they oxidizing, anything like that, because keel bolts are a very, very big deal. However, the fin keel does offer a lot less drag. It's going to be faster. It can point higher into the wind. You can actually get more weight in the keel down lower for a better righting action against the pressure on the sail, which is sort of important. So basically, the fin keel is going to be faster, probably less comfortable under passage, and you're going to need deeper water. Now, I know, as I said, this is an oversimplification drastically on keels, and because this episode isn't about keels, that's just where we're going to leave it. Island Packet didn't just make the 26 and 27, they have made boats right up over 50 feet, and they've never deviated from the design. The DNA is all the same. It's this classic, time-honored, full keel. I mean, there are countless different layouts. The new ones are even center cockpit. No matter what your budget is, if you want an Island Packet, there is an Island Packet for you. And if you've ever seen an Island Packet, you'll recognize any Island Packet ever made because they all generally have the same characteristics. Today, over 2,200 Island Packets have been built in the Florida shop, and you'll find them everywhere. They've circumnavigated. They've been everywhere in the Caribbean. If you go to almost any anchorage in Florida, there's probably an Island Packet sitting there with a very happy owner because the boats are so comfortable and livable. Bob's company has also won a ton of awards, including Boat of the Year. And I don't mean Boat of the Year once for one of the boats. And I don't mean it twice or 3 Boat of the Year awards. Seven Boat of the Year awards. And countless other awards from sailing magazines and different things like that. It really does have this heritage of just a very, very solid, very good, very well-built boat. As of present day, Island Packet is now owned by Hake Yachts. And yes, Island Packet is still making boats. So where do we land overall on Island Packet? Well, they're going to be more expensive than the other boats you might be looking at. And I don't mean expensive in like a Gucci sort of a way. More of like expensive in a superior build quality, a fit and finish sort of way, you get what you pay for sort of way. The expensive really does make sense. And they won't be winning any races. The fin-keeled sister boats to these boats are always going to be a little bit faster, but the Island Packet's always going to be heavier and very comfortable if that's what you're after. If you're running with a pack of boats and you don't mind getting to the anchorage an hour after everybody else, then Island Packet is certainly a brand you should think about. The thing about getting there an hour after all the fin-keel boats, though, is you'll still have room to anchor because you can go into the shallower sections of the anchorage because you don't draw as much water, which is actually a pretty big perk. If comfort, build quality, and the satisfaction that you bought the heaviest, toughest, most go-anywhere vessel inside your budget are the things that are important to you, then Island Packet is a brand that you need to take a hard look at.
We